Coming up on the Angus Report, destruction and total loss swept through the South when Hurricane Harvey made its way across the states. Which health issues do cattlemen need to be aware of, and how can you help? We look into the markets with analyst Dan Basse to see how the weather and politics affect ranchers' bottom line.
Thinking about Washington, it is a mess today, but strangely enough, it's helping the American farmer with a weaker U.S. dollar.
A look at Heifer Nutrition and how that affects reproduction.
Those heifers do not get enough nutrition during their pre-weaning period. We're going to see long-term ramifications.
And what do lobster and steak have in common? We tell you. This is the Angus Report. Hello and welcome to the Angus Report. I'm Bob Cervera. Our top news this week. The aftermath of Hurricane Harvey is still being felt by cattle ranchers in the Southeast. Existing cattle injuries range from respiratory disease, insect-borne infections, and snake bites, and trash consumption. AgriLife Extension experts have been advising producers the best ways to manage the damage caused by the hurricane-driven floodwaters. Dr. Jason Cleary says safe drinking water is the first priority of producers in the affected areas, followed by supplemental hay for stranded and displaced cattle. Cleary says the condition of the herd should also be closely monitored, and any injuries should be cleaned, treated, and a veterinarian should be notified if needed. Another doctor, Jason Banta, expects pneumonia and foot rot to be the two biggest health issues that stem from the hurricane. Visit texashelp.tamu.edu for additional information on livestock health and recovery. Amidst the tragedy of Hurricane Harvey, and as we have seen too many times already this year, rural America rallies together in times of need. After the devastation of Hurricane Harvey, multiple relief efforts have been organized and established to assist ranch families in their restoration efforts. The Texas and Southwest Cattle Raisers Association has established a relief fund and are collecting monetary donations. Ranchers affected by Harvey are asked to complete an application in order to receive relief funds. Visit tscra.org/relief fund to apply for assistance. Contact the Animal Supply Point phone bank by dialing area code 979-845-7800 to donate hay or feed. And for a complete list of various donation avenues, including fence supplies, restoration operations, and other relief efforts, visit texasfarmbureau.org. From the floods in the south to the drought in the northern plains and out west, beef supplies are sure to shift in the next few weeks. President of AgResource, Dan Basse, says feedlots have seen an early influx of cattle due to extreme weather conditions. He also says with China opening their doors to U.S. beef and the political atmosphere in Washington, D.C., U.S. ranchers should be optimistic for the future.
Well, as we look at placement rates, we believe they'll start to slow down here starting in September, October, November. A lot of those calves out of the northern plains due to the drought were pulled forward. Those animals are now on feed. We then expect as we look forward that there will be this Chinese demand component for beef. We think beta agonists will still take another 9 months, beta agonist free, should take another 9 months or so. So somewhere between, let's say, February and April, we should see the Chinese start to become more robust buyers of U.S. beef. And that combination of seasonality and fewer supply should give us a run up to maybe $124, $128 per centimweight, and then thereafter we should start to see prices easing down. But we're going to bottom, we think, in the fourth quarter somewhere between 100 to 104. So it is a nice run to the upside as we look forward to 2018. Well, we are not as bearish of agriculture as been over the last 3 or 4 years. Agricultural opportunities seem to be bottoming out. We believe the banker is cutting back in some of his lending. But we do believe that this year's corn and soybean crop won't be as large as last year. We see the U.S. corn yield between 164, 166 bushels an acre, maybe soybeans 47, 47 and a half, and that will provide some levity. The U.S. dollar is now down about 10%, so when the U.S. dollar declines as much as it had, foreigners have lost confidence. This means that pressures producers overseas, whether you're in Brazil, France, or Russia, those kind of places, they see diminished profitability, and that means they may finally start to cut back on their production to our benefit. And so thinking about Washington, it is a mess today, but strangely enough, it's helping the American farmer with a weaker U.S. dollar.
Basse was a featured speaker at this year's Certified Angus Beef Feeding Quality Forum in Nebraska. Visit cabpartners.com for additional information. Dow Chemical Company and DuPont have officially finalized their merger. The company, now named Dow DuPont, is trading on the New York Stock Exchange under DWDP. Officials now turn their attention to focus on the structure of the 3 separate companies under the new name. The new structure allows for 3 separate divisions: agriculture, material science, and specialty products. It's currently unclear how the merger will affect both companies' workforce, and some concern is still raised regarding decreased competition in the agricultural industry. Dow DuPont is the first of 3 major mergers proposed to take place. ChemChina's purchase of Syngenta is almost final, and Bayer's merger with Monsanto faces some regulatory hurdles in Europe. Visit DowDupont.com for more information on its merger and the structure of the company. Changing gears now and focusing on replacement heifers, research shows that adequate nutrition is not only necessary for day-to-day maintenance on cattle, but also to allow them to meet certain reproductive milestones. University of Idaho beef specialist John Hall says cattle producers need to pay more attention to heifer calf nutrition prior to weaning in order to ensure a reproductively successful and productive career on the farm.
We can have management control somewhat over that, and each one of those time periods is very critical. And so, for example, the pre-weaning period is one that we usually don't exert a lot of managerial control over, but we could, mainly by keeping track of whether we're in a drought situation or a poor forage situation. We might want to intervene and supplement those heifers, because if those heifers do not get enough nutrition during that pre-weaning period, we're going to see long-term ramifications. Post-weaning period, we've got a lot of flexibility. Multiple years of research have shown us that we can use a variety of feedstuffs and a variety of pattern of gains of those heifers as long as we reach the target weight. We need to have that nutrition maintained so that those heifers achieve an 80 to 85% of mature weight by the time they calve, regardless of what system they're on, and that we need those heifers to calve in good body condition in order to breed back and stay in the herd as young cows.
Hall was a featured speaker at this year's Applied Reproductive Strategies Convention in Manhattan, Kansas. Visit appliedreprostrategies.com for more information and tools to improve your breeding plan next year. This time of year for many ranchers is a chance to cull non-productive cattle. Selling open females reduces the feed required to winter cattle. However, traditionally checking for pregnancy requires a veterinarian or a skilled technician in order to palpate a female. Kansas rancher Barb Downey purchased an ultrasound machine for her operation and says it's given them greater accuracy than traditional methods.
We also use ultrasound technology in our operation, and not in the way that most Angus producers are used to using it, but we're using it for pregnancy diagnosis. And we find we can sort our AI sired from our cleanup bred ones and use that information to make marketing decisions. But more importantly, we feel like it has offered us the chance to identify open females in our herd at an earlier time when those females are A, in a better body condition score, so they have more pounds available to sell, and B, at a time of year earlier in the year when the cattle markets are higher. So that ability to find those open females earlier and get them marketed earlier has paid for that ultrasound machine that we purchased.
For the first time, dairy producers have a chance to opt out of the Dairy Margin Protection Program. At the request of many producers, Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue is allowing producers to withdraw from the program and not pay the annual administrative fee for 2018. Both the American Farm Bureau Federation and National Milk Producers Federation were pleased with the announcement. President of Farm Bureau Zippy Duval says of the farms representing almost 80% of the U.S. milk supply, only 2% of the milk enrolled in MPP participated in levels above the basic coverage option, and says the low participation is due to the poor performance of the program because it does not provide a viable safety net to dairy farmers. Farmers who choose to opt out of the program may then enroll in the Livestock Gross Margin Program for 2018. When we return, what steak and lobster have in common and why cattle producers need to set their sights on continued quality. Then we travel to Louisiana to see how an Angus rancher's time in college inspired him to enter the seed stock industry. Visit Angus.media to continue watching this episode of the Angus Report.
Forward. It's more than a direction. It's mandatory because the beef business rewards the progressive. The doers, the ones who know what it takes to go easy on cattle and never set them back. So set your eyes on the horizon, turn your back to the wind, and move your herd the only way you know. Forward. Vista Vaccines. Always ahead.
Today's beef consumer has questions. BQA has the answers. Your beef quality assurance certification allows you to share a story that assures customers that you are responsibly raising a safe, wholesome, and healthy beef supply. Becoming BQA certified just became even more convenient with a new interactive training experience that is online and available 24/7. So what are you waiting for? Get started today by visiting bqa.org.
Hi, I'm Red Stegall. I'd like to invite you to the 2017 Angus Convention, November 4th through the 6th, right here in historic Fort Worth. It's also open to all cattle producers, whether you own Angus cattle or not. Now you'll enjoy 4 days of Texas hospitality, a ranch tour, an industry-leading trade show, and some of the best educational opportunities in the business. But best of all, you'll get to be with your Angus family, celebrating the successes of the breed and charting a course for the future.
Did you know that your checkoff works to grow demand for U.S. beef in more than 80 countries? Did you know export markets add more than $250 in value to each head? Did you know your checkoff works to develop, defend, and dispel in an effort to expand international markets? While you're focused on managing your beef business, your checkoff is developing new foreign markets and defending those where U.S. beef is currently sold. Get to know your checkoff at mybeefcheckoff.com.